Hey traders, welcome to Top Tier Outlook. Did I get the date wrong? I put February 12th. All right, the bot's telling me I put February 12th. All right, this is Top Tier Outlook for the week of February 19. And we are kicking off, well, what I would typically consider my Sunday evening homework. So I'm in the office. I usually get here about 5 p.m. And for those of you that are wondering, yeah, what are you doing on a Sunday, especially if there's no trading on Monday? Doesn't matter. We want to stick with that routine. We want to stick with the homework. We want to stick with the habits of what are we going to trade and what price do we want to trade it from? And then thirdly, what events might close the distance? So I'm going to talk about all those things here today in terms of what symbols we want to continue to look at from a relative performance standpoint. We went into a deep dive on this in Friday's video. So if you check out Friday's video, and I'm trying to think where it's on the Simpler Trading YouTube channel. You can check it out there. I talk about what are the leading sectors and then what are the leading stocks within them. And we'll get into a little bit of that today. And then I'm going to talk about the schedule, what those events are that might close the distance and what is the distance we're looking to close to. All right, let's tackle the last one first, because as I'm going through the charts, hopefully everyone will be able to see where we have been buying and where I will continue to be buying. It's completely automated for the 1 hour time frame and for the daily. So short-term swings and long-term. We're still looking at the daily price movement range, our DPMRs, our historical volatility, automated support and resistance levels. I love these for one reason and one reason only. Many days, although I love them for many reasons, but the one that always pops up, the one that I always come back to is no one else can see these but us. And a lot of folks ask, Rog, what if, there's 1,000 of us using them? There are. And if you think about this, I get this question, Rog, what if the mastery or the indicators grow to such a popularity and, 1,000 or 2,000 of us are using these indicators? I get that question a lot. And what I usually say is, well, what symbol you're looking at and what volume is in that symbol, what open interest is in that symbol. And you'll see we're but a fraction of it. So what I love about what we're able to do is we're surfers on the ocean, right? We're able to see the wave. We get up on that ocean, ride it to shore because the wave doesn't even know we're there. And I think a lot of times traders can sometimes get a very skewed feeling of where we are within the overall scheme of things. I love that we're almost like ninjas. We're in, we're out, the market never knew. And I'm not looking to move a market. That's not what we are looking for. So I get a lot of people asking me that, Rog, is part of the advantage no one else sees it. Hey, if there were 100,000 of us using this thing, I might say something differently. Heck, if there were 20,000 of us using this zone, I might say something differently. But right now, this is very much something that very few traders are using, and it is offering an amazing edge. And thank you for those of you that ask. I appreciate the curiosity, and it comes up as it's sort of related to this other question, which is, Rog, you're telling us that the mastery is growing. We are actually the largest mastery at Simpler. And a lot of folks get, oh, wait a minute, Rog, what if there's too many of us in the mastery? Not even close, because there's still so few of us using a specific set of tools, a specific strategy, that we're still able to get in like surfers, ride that wave, and the ocean never even knew we were there. So I appreciate it. I appreciate the question, and these are good problems to have. I love that we have as many traders as we do collectively looking for opportunities together. And for those of you wondering, Rog, I kind of feel like I'm alone. I don't know if I'm seeing things right. At any given time of the day during the trading hours, Monday through Friday, we have 300-400 people in the room actively looking at what's going on. And if you chime in and you say, I'm looking at this because these indicators are doing that, someone's going to pipe in, might be me, might be Lorna too, and say, no, that's not a good idea. Or, hey, yeah, let's try to build that out. Right. And that's why the community is so great. And I'm emphasizing that because the trial starts now, as in, I believe, Friday. We had our webinar on Thursday, which you can also check out at the Simpler Trading YouTube channel. And I think the sale ends the end of tomorrow. Just do it now before you forget. I'll see you on Tuesday in the room. All right, so let's get to it. As always, I talked about three big things we're going to talk about. Let's get into it. In fact, probably the easiest place to start would be the economic calendar. Now, there are a number of economic calendars that I like to use, and Forex Factory is probably the easiest one to use, both visually and from the standpoint of it just being a very simple website. So let me show you what that looks like. This is forexfactory.com, right? And this is what the schedule looks like in terms of the entire week to come. Of course, tomorrow is a bank holiday in the US and in Canada, so really nothing to do. I'm not going to be doing any trading tomorrow, but I am going to be doing more homework. You're seeing the beginning of that homework in today's Top Tier Outlook show. Going into Tuesday, are there any events that are scheduled that are going to move the indices, the treasuries, the currencies, the metals, the energies, the stocks, the sectors that are sympathetic to them? Are there any events on Tuesday? Not really. Not really. This leading index might have a disproportionate influence on what's going to happen because there's nothing else. So we have to keep an eye on that Tuesday at 10 a.m. But here comes the big event for the week. And that's going to be FOMC meeting minutes. So this is as if we could be a fly on the wall and hear the conversations about why they came up with the statement they came up with, the conversations that have been going on. Is there unison in the opinion? Are there dissenters? Are they very much in agreement that they're going to cut rates later on this year? I think we can take from Powell's 60 Minutes. I need a haircut. I think we can take from Powell's 60 Minutes appearance weekend before last that they are preparing for cuts. They're just not in a rush. March is a no. May is a maybe. June is a yes. That's where we sit right now. Are we going to see cuts this year? Yes, for two reasons. At some point, bonds are going to start to play a game of chicken with Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve, because what bonds are going to say is, look, we know you're going to cut, so we've stopped driving yields on the long bond and on the 10-year to higher highs. However, if you keep rates higher for longer, you're putting the economy in distress, and then they're going to start to move around again. Believe me, the Federal Reserve sees what's happening in Fed Fund futures. The Federal Reserve knows what's happening. They see what's happening in the long bond too. So all those things are relevant. So FOMC meeting minutes. Moving on to Thursday, a little bit more data. Nothing really significant. However, you can see flash manufacturing, PMI, existing home sales, etc. Nothing major, but there'll be a little bit more volatility. And then come Friday, it's quiet again. So really all this week is about the crescendo of Wednesday. That is the catalyst. You might say, Rog, why would we care? Why would we spend 2-3 minutes in a week, like we just did, to look at the calendar? Because it's those events that tend to create the volatility that we ultimately use to enter our trades, right? And rather than getting broadsided by that volatility, we want to know when those volatility events are going to happen. We can position ourselves accordingly. That's a huge part of what we like to do. All right, so next up is those of you that are asking. John mentioned, David G mentioned, gang, Monday, that's it. And I'm going to be very straight up with everybody. This isn't something that you're going to call the office and tell them in a month, I want that $7 trial. Here is the reason we do this in a very specific part of the year for a very specific month. Onboarding, the focus on getting you from point A to point B, from 0 to 100 miles an hour, is not something we can do every day. It's not something I can do every month. I'm busy trading with members every month, and that's what you want too, right? However, when we know we have a lot of folks coming on, we can structure the room for the month in such a way that we can get you from A to B as quickly, as painlessly, as in a very curated, digestible way as possible. So it is this month. That is it. These are not ongoing trials in the mastery. And that's why I don't do them. There's no way we could have hundreds of people coming in every month and that the folks that have been here for a while go, oh my gosh, here we go again. We got to start off with the basics. And I'm being very frank with everyone. I don't want to have to reduce the amount of trading we do so I can go back to basics. Now, for those of you that need a refresher, the trial is a great time for experienced members to go, oh, Rog, perfect. We get our yearly refresher. Those of you that are wondering, well, Rog, what if I join later after a class or something? We have a fantastic learning center where you can, at your own pace, take in all the different pieces of what we do in the mastery. Of course, we cover this stuff to a certain degree every day. It's kind of like on the job trading, quite literally, but this is unique. This month is this month only. So that's why I emphasize it as much as I do, because I'm thinking specifically about new members. And that's the way we work it. I do not have ongoing trials. I want everyone to understand that. I will have a class coming up in April, beginning part of April. We do have a class coming up. So if for whatever reason this timing is not good, I get it. You're still going to get a lot for the $7. HPMRs and DPMRs alone are worth just paying the $7 and getting those indicators, not to mention everything else that you have access to. So that's why I mentioned take advantage of it now. And then if you think, okay, Rog, am I going to miss the hand holding if I miss this trial? Wait for the class. That'll be the next window. So being as upfront with everybody as possible, because I want you to get the most out of it. All right. So we talked about the events that we're going to be keyed on, the event. Now, what about what we're going to trade? Well, let's get to that. We do this quite a bit in the room, and I want to do this with everybody right now. Check out Friday's video. You'll see me do this process exactly. And that is the multi-charts. So what you have here is just a custom flexi grid on Thinkorswim. You can do something sort of similar on TradingView, but what we have here is the broader group. This is XLK or NASDAQ or home builders or whatever you want, right? I have a number of these. So you take a look. See that? There's a whole bunch of these. So any ETF that's liquid, that has those important stocks or heavily weighted, I create a grid like this. It's something I do manually. So once you have the template, which we do give you in the Sector Secrets Mastery, boom, you just fill it up. Indicators are already populated, and you can create these flexible grids for yourself on any index that you want, on any ETF that you'd like. Heck, you can curate your own group, whatever you'd like. The important part is this, and I'm going to walk you through how we do it, and then that's going to be what I will use to figure out what our next batch of trades are going to be in the mastery. Do I want to be a buyer of the XLK? Green momentum, green trend. But is everything of equal value here? Nope, 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 nope. Right? Now, what is of good value in terms of the structure that looks like the XLK, Microsoft, AVGO, NVIDIA, AMD, ACM, all those things that have been, for the most part, trending higher, right? That are having very good resilience from the daily price movement range, right? And that's really the plan. NVIDIA has been surfing the daily price movement range. We've talked about that in Charts and Coffee. That's what we want to do there. One of the sectors that got my attention, a lot of you have been asking me about it, is XLE. All right. XLE. Is this ready for prime time? XLE last week got back above the zero line in terms of relative performance last week. So it's interesting, but it still hasn't turned into an uptrend. So for those of you that are saying, Rog, I'd really like to focus on long oil stock. I can see what crude oil futures are doing. Where can I do that? Everyone here could probably see that right now. MPC, PSX, VLO. It's only 3 stocks that I would say are relative outperformers. What don't you want to do? And a lot of traders do this. They see something really weak and say, oh, well, Schlumberger must be a deal, right? No, no, no. That's a downtrend. It's a squiggly little line between deal and downtrend, isn't it? We don't want to focus on things like Schlumberger. Focus on the relative outperformers. That's where the follow through will be. Another sector not getting a lot of attention, staples. Staples are in an uptrend. This is consumer staples. Beautiful trend here. Costco, Walmart. These are the 2 best corners of staples right now, as is the broader group, which is XLP. Staples are going to be an interesting thing to keep some exposure in, or at least consider keeping exposure in as we build our swings week in and week out. Because if there is a defensive move, staples are going to look that much more attractive. right? And if they're in an uptrend anyways, they look attractive, period. Now, what about the other side of the coin? If I have consumer staples on one side, I've got consumer discretionary on the other. The big no here, and for whatever reason, people get very bent about this. Look, I can't control people's response when people say, oh, Rob doesn't like Tesla. I don't like Tesla because I don't want to buy something in a downtrend. How's that been working out? Not so good, right? If I want to take advantage of trends, Home Depot, Lowe's, Amazon, right? Does everyone see where I'm going with this? So I think the main thing here is let's not pick favorite stocks. Let's choose those stocks, those sectors that are moving better than others. And why bullish, Rag? Why are you so bullish? Well, it's been working out really well for us since last April because we are seeing uptrends in the broader averages. They are above the 200 propulsion. They are steadily moving higher. So, look, there's two schools of thought. Let's talk about this for a moment. Rog, why are you so darn bullish? Every now and then everyone's telling us the sky is falling. Also, how's that been working out? Not too well. So the way that we want to think about how to position ourselves for longer term follow through, so overnight trades, right? Let's squeeze in some data here. I'm not going to pick out a well-chosen example. Let's go back. Okay. Ever since the S&P was able to get above this level, right? It makes a whole lot more sense to look for follow through to the upside. It's just that simple. But you might say, but Rog, there's been a couple times where we've moved lower. Yeah. And this entire time, right? Do we really think that these, and maybe some of you do, so this is maybe a rhetorical question, but does anyone here really think this is what we're trying to time? And the ridiculous amount of luck and how many times you're going to be wrong guessing at what that's going to be, does anyone think these are the windows for the trade? Or is the window just saying, hey, the path of least resistance is up? Quite literally, the path of least resistance is up. Why not focus on buys? And you might say, Rog, why can't we do both? I think based on I've noted based on my observation of traders who do that, and early on in my career, and I do mean early, my delusion that I could pick a top in an uptrend because it's overbought, that's bunk, right? I realized, Rog, why would you go with that? Why would you try to find the needle in the haystack move when you can just continue to move higher with the overall trend? Does that make sense? I hope it does. And that's not a rhetorical, does that make sense? Does that make sense? Okay. So what we want to do is focus on those relative outperformers. Now, the Dow is on a relative outperformer. XLI is. XLF is. XLV is. So I would not focus on the Dow broadly, but industrials, financials, and healthcare look amazing. Write that down. Okay, Rog, focus on those. XLF has been a fantastic gift that keeps on giving. And you might say, well, where in XLF, Rog? Let's take a peek. We're long Visa. Look, anything that's green, please don't short it. That's easy, right? Okay, wait a minute, Rob. Can I short Morgan? If you want to short a stock that's in a sector that's moving higher, sure. But would I really want to look for shorts when the overall movement is up? No, but if I am looking for a short position, if I am looking for weakness, that's the place to look, right? Berkshire, JP Morgan, Visa, MasterCard, Wells, American Express. Don't short these unless you hate your money, right? That's what the green says. That's literally what the green is saying. Rod, don't short me unless you hate your money. Okay. So there's another way of thinking about what you're trading and whether or not you're able to have the discipline. It is discipline, gang. Do we have the discipline to focus on those things that have the most follow through? All right. So I know I'm kind of running out of time here on the show, but let me grab a few questions here and we'll go from there. Bot puts, nice. Smoke Divine, very nice. And look, again, at some point, some of the stocks that, maybe whether it's Morgan or whether it's Tesla, they could have a resumption of the trend. But please, if you're looking for follow through, look for strong things to get stronger. Or as Physics 101 says, a body in motion, a stock in motion tends to stay in motion. And it doesn't mean buy at higher highs. Please find those pullbacks. All right. Let's see. So we talked about the trial. Let's see what else we have here. Uh, Target. I'm not going to look at a 1 hour setup end because it's Sunday and tomorrow's closed, but I'll look at Target on the daily. The daily price movement ranges would be the same. I'm going to wait for Target to settle down. It had a very volatile trading session on the 16th. Let's wait for it to settle down. But do I want to be a buyer? We're north of the 200, right? And I've got mostly green, if not sometimes yellow. So what I have here is mostly a bullish environment in the bullish hemisphere with a few neutral candles. I want to be a buyer. I would give it a little time to settle down. Jack asks, Mondelez, be careful here, but it's still a buy. Here's why this would be a buy. This is kind of a cool non-trending buy, but definitely something we can keep an eye on. All right, so what do we have here? This is actually at the low, so that's an oversold read. Why does that matter? This is a neutral environment. So remember, if you're going to use an oscillator, slow stochastic, things like that, make sure you're using an oscillator in a non-trending environment. This is Mondelez. Okay, the next thing is, where's the support? I've got Darvis support. I've got the propulsion support. I've got a minor low here. So yes, that would be a pretty nice buy zone. I'd say anywhere between 71 and 72 on Mondelez. So I have any thoughts on IBB? I try not to have any thoughts on any of these things, but let's see what they look like, right? And if there's a setup. IBB is interesting. Let's break up IBB the way we did everything else. And I don't know that my IBB is up to date because I don't trade this one that much, but I think these are still about the same names in it. IBB is in an uptrend. REGN, SGEN. I'd be careful. This is not a really bullishly structured looking group of stocks that make up the IBB. So be careful on this one. It's not usually a sector that I watch all that much for two reasons. One, it's its own little industry. And two, certain stocks within the IBB are heavily weighted in certain sectors and certain indices. And I just assume focus on those than the collection of IBB names. And they don't look all that good. Bullish, right? Good meaning bullish, which is not a great way to describe it. They don't look that bullish to me. All right. When does the trading room start up again? Yeah, Sam, Tuesday. Markets are closed tomorrow. Exactly. All right. Moving on to, and yeah, Smoke, I love the puts on Tesla. Excellent. Short the thing when it bounces. That's really the plan. But I'll tell you what, I'm not even doing that. I'm just warning people not to get too bullish quite yet. There are better buys than focusing on shorts. I'd rather be focused on the long side of the market at the moment, which, by the way, I don't have it up right now. I'm sure lots of you have seen the trades viz that I've shared, and I probably should bring it up, but I'm sure many of you have seen it. And the trades viz that I've shared with everybody in the past is the trading from this month and last month. And, every now and then traders will ask, how do we do in this time? How do we do in that time? I'm going to be straight up. I don't run a hedge fund. I'm not here to tell you what my 10-year performance has been because someone's been invested with me for 10 years. I'm not a hedge fund, right? What I am is a trader. Here's the problem with talking about what happened in 2020 or 2021 or those aren't the environments we're trading now. So I get the curiosity about, Rog, how's it been going for 3 years? I've been doing this for 30 years. So can we just agree it's been going pretty well? The thing that I want to definitely get across is let's do this. Let's take a little time travel back, right? And I'm happy to talk about what we've been doing the last 2 months. These aren't easy, straight up months. In 2021, if someone told you how they did in 2020, do you think that was skewed by probably the strongest uptrend that humans have seen? So does 2021's results, if factoring 2020 trading environments, is that something that maps forward? The best thing I see is what the CFTC says that everyone has to have as a disclaimer. Past performance does not dictate future results. This is true, right? So when I say that we have to trade the now, look, just because and let's go back even 1 month, just because I did really well in January does not mean I'm going to do really well in February. I don't want anyone thinking this is an ATM, right? That is not what we're talking about. Can you manage risk and can you find stocks that have probability? And I say this because for those traders thinking, Rob, yeah, that makes sense. Great. Come on over to the mastery. That doesn't make sense. Don't waste your time, right? I don't want anyone here to do that. Find what works for you. So if you're having a hard time finding stocks in this environment that are following through, I know we can help you. If you're having a hard time position sizing and placing stop losses, I know we can help you. That's all built into the mastery. And so these are the kind of results we had in January, which by no means that's what we'll do in February, but February is actually off to a better start than even January was. Go figure. Does that mean it's going to map out to March? Not necessarily, right? So let's remember, we trade the market we have, not the market we wish we had. So let's go back here. And another question I've been getting a lot of, and I know I've just about run out of time here on the show, but a lot of folks have been asking me about seasonals. I don't know why seasonals are coming up the way they are. It's actually zero relevance in a year like 2024. There are two major influences on 2024. One is, of course, it's an election year. Election years tend to be bullish. Are they all bullish? No. But if you want to go look back, pluck out on a weekly time frame all the election years and look at whether or not they generally moved higher and when they started to move higher. That might be a cool exercise. Hey, bot, that might be a cool exercise in the Sector Secrets room because a lot of folks are curious about election year cycles. We can get specific to the month and to the length of the trends. So that might be a kind of fun thing to do one day in the room. And then the other thing is we have a Federal Reserve that's getting ready for a dovish pivot. Do you think that there is some seasonal out there that whether it's February, March, May, that eclipses the fact that the Federal Reserve is likely to cut rates? So remember, seasonals when they apply to stocks is a little bit silly. And here's why I say that. Stocks are not planted, grown, harvested, and stored. They're just not. Seasonals apply to things that are alive. Seasonals are tricky when it comes to stocks. Energy has some seasonal cycles. Gold does have some seasonal cycles because of the manner in which they're used, right? We know there's certain things that happen every year and the manner in which those commodities are used. Do you think Apple has a seasonal or do you think it moves according to new devices and sales? I think we know it's the latter, right? So that's where I say don't get overwhelmed and swept up with this narrative because seasonals are very tempting. I get it. You know, I'm gonna hearken to my English major background. It's Odysseus, it's Scylla and Carbetus, right? It's beckoning to you, right? But it's your doom. It sounds so tempting and so lovely. Seasonals are going to predict what happens the rest of the year. Do you all really think that's how this works? Or is some part of our brain that wants certainty so badly willing to believe things like that? Right? I must have woken up with the truth bomb in my mind. But those are things that I hope question in your mind why. I like CRM a lot, Jeff. I like it a lot. It's one of the strength plays in the group that it mostly works within. Yeah, it is. I like that one a lot. Do I prefer to buy naked calls on sector? Here, let's take the naked thing out, Zane, because that throws a lot of people off. I get long calls and long puts. That's it. Don't use the word naked because that's not necessarily applicable to what a long call or long put is. I don't need it to be backed by owning shares or anything like that. So I buy calls and I buy puts. All right. David, yes, we do share it in the Sector Secrets Mastery. Absolutely. And I show people how to update them. Let's see what else we have here before we wrap up. All right. On the multi, what do the pink versus no color? Oh, red or pink is bearish. The no color, the gray, the reason it disappears is there's no trend. Thank you for noting that, D. Shore. Yes, that means there's no trend. Absolutely. All right. So yeah, again, I don't want to call them naked because it's not the right terminology, but long calls, long puts. I think I get the gist. Long calls, long puts. By the way, when you're buying a call and you're buying a put, foregoing that it's in the money, going into expiration, and you don't sell it, right? Hello, shares. Let's forget that. Let's presume that you will get out before expiration, in or out of the money. Your risk on a long call or long put is what you pay for the option. That's the total risk minus fees and commissions. That's it. All right. That's it. There's nothing else. Again, presuming that you're getting out before expiration. All right. So I hope that makes sense. What's the average day? There is no average, Zane. It depends on the time frame. It depends on the setup. It depends on the liquidity. But I'd like to give myself enough time for follow through. So if forced to pull up an average, 10, but I mean, it's a huge range. If it's a 1 hour chart, maybe 10 days to 3 weeks. If it's a daily time frame with a great trend, I want as much time as I can. So I really don't have an average, and it really doesn't matter. That's not the point, right? The point is the timing on the entry, and do we or don't have a trend. If I don't have a trend, I don't need as much time, right? If I have a trend, I want way more follow through. Okay. So remember, if the terminology naked is actually not proper, I don't know where that starts, but it's actually not correct. If you're long calls, long puts, right? It actually insinuates something else. And maybe that is what you're doing, but it is not what we do. Yeah. Okay. Next up is Dave asks, I tried to download the multi charts without success. Dave, it's a shared item. It's a shared item in the Sector Secrets Mastery. So every Monday, the bot will walk you all through how to import indicators, how to import the shared items. Yeah. So every Monday, and then the tech session that bot did Friday walked through it. I know that we have the next tech session on Tuesday. So bring your questions to the room on Tuesday and she can walk you through whatever the issue is. But it's just opening a shared item and then you can make adjustments to it. But yeah, well, she'll be right back in the room on Tuesday. And she's been scheduling a lot of extra bonus sessions. So we normally have 4 a month, 1 every week. I think we've been averaging 2 a week during the trial, so everyone gets a little bit more time. Last Friday, last Monday, the Friday before that, check any of those replays out. I think she goes through it, Dave, if you look at the archives, almost on a regular basis during her session. If not, you can come on back on Tuesday and she can walk you through how to open a shared item. Okay. All right. Next up is, oh yeah, Zane, no worries. I just want to make sure that no one here is thinking I'm buying naked. Oh, no worries. No mistake. It just might have been what you were doing. I didn't want to presume. But yes, long calls, long puts, long calls, long puts in a cash account. You're only risking at worst what you paid for plus fees and commissions. And I do not recommend for new traders spreads. We don't do spread trading. We don't have pattern day trading issues. Cash account. And then when I teach you all, we have its awesome spreadsheet and a workshop that you can go through at your own pace to understand how to position size and how to understand risk. So a lot of cool things. All right. I know I've run way over. Thank you as always, gang. If you haven't already, I have been mentioning this. Come Monday, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. We're going to have charts and coffee on Monday tomorrow. I'll remind everybody one more time, and then that's it, right? Windows closed. Everyone that's in the trial is in the trial period that we have. And then at that point, I'm looking forward to a whole lot more active day trading and swing trading with you all. And it's going to be another great month. It's already shaping up to be one. We're going to have a lot of good FOMC information that might give us some catalyst come this week. So I'm excited about that. All right. As always, gang, thank you so much for being here for Top Tier Outlook. By the way, my members, the Top Tier Outlook newsletter, which is part of the Sector Secrets Mastery, will go out on Tuesday. Obviously, tomorrow's a day off. And then, but I will be here for charts and coffee. All right. And chances are we'll have a longer charts and coffee. So if you want to pick my brain about a few other things, come on over. Same place, Twitter, the YouTubes, 9 a.m. Eastern. I'll see you then. Be good to each other, gang. Thank you as always for your time. I'll talk with you soon.